Hi, Steve Weavers here. In this video I'm going to look at a couple of the advanced controls, the warper and the ROI tracker. First of all, we're looking at the image warper here. We can see it in its default state of simply passing the video through unwarped. There's a number of things we can do, like zoom in. Okay, we can switch it over and zoom out. Okay. We can also rotate. So if we just rotate the image, full 360 back again. Okay, and we can also flip the image. We can flip it vertically. Okay, we can flip it horizontally. Okay, a couple of other things here. We can also put some bias in the zoom. So if we let's just zoom out a little bit, and if we're going to expand the center, we can increase the zoom bias, and we get this kind of barrel effect here, which it looks a bit like fisheye. Okay, we can contract the center. Do that, then we get this kind of pincushion effect, which is useful for correcting fisheye. Take that off, but we could also have some rotation bias as well. So if we increase that, we can see that the center rotates more than the exterior. We can do that. And we can mix any of these features that we want. So obviously we've zoomed in here. We can rotate the image. We can add some rotation bias to it. We put some zoom bias in if we really want, but it doesn't do much there. We can flip it. Okay. And this is all done real time on the live video. There's another little thing here. If we click the spin button, it'll spin continuously. So it's kind of useful if you don't want to keep pressing the buttons. And let's see, there's one other thing. If we look at the warp center here, we can see that there's a little red dot right in the middle of the image. That's the default condition. And that dot is the point around which all the warps are done, all the flips, rotations, zooms, everything's done there. So if we want to move that dot and put it somewhere else, let's put it in the middle of my face there, we can do that. We can see that we're now rotating, zooming and everything else around that point. So let's make that a little bit easier to see. Okay, there. Okay, so this is the original unwarped image. So if we zoom in, we'll zoom out. Let's zoom in; it's more obvious. If we zoom in, we can see we actually zoom into the point that we've put on the warp center. Similarly, we can rotate, and we'd see that it rotates around that point, and even the flips will flip around that point too. Okay, so that's really all of the features of the warper. It's pretty complete, and I think we're going to start looking at the region of interest tracker now. Okay, so I've paused and brought up everything I wanted to show you, just in the interest of time. What we can see here is a live input coming into the ROI tracker. We can see that the region of interest size is set to 128, and we can see the green square around that area. The target size is set to 32 by 32, and that's the red area. We can see that we're currently tracking, and the target we're tracking is my ear, so if I move my head you should see that move around. Okay, and what the ROI tracker is outputting is the region of interest, in other words the stuff that's in the green square. So as I move, you should be able to see that the head stays still in the image. You can see the background moving around, and that's as intended. Okay, we can see that the little red tracking indicators here to indicate that it's tracking, so it's lost it. Let's go back and find it again. We can see that the tracking score is coming up here. We've ticked the update target, so if I sort of move my head to the side, you can see that the target itself here will also update. Okay, that may or may not be something that you want to use. Velocity prediction is another option, so that's kind of improve the accuracy a little bit. Okay, and tracking tolerance. If we increase the tolerance, then the actual score doesn't need to be as good for the tracking indicator to come on. If we decrease the tolerance, then it gets a bit more strict about tracking it. Okay, now this probably isn't particularly useful. Ever since I can remember, most tracking applications have been military, so to make that a bit more realistic, I've got this infrared file from YouTube, and I'm going to take a look at that for the rest of this demo. So if we do that and we run this, okay, let's just put it directly in so we can see what we're dealing with. Okay, this is the video here. Not tracking much, just going to track this guy. Okay, so we can see that that's there. Now I've seen this a few times before, so I know it kind of ducks down in a minute, which gets a bit tricky. Okay, yeah, and we kind of switch over there as he does that. But we're still updating the target and tracking something close to that. Now, I say again, that's just tracking the raw video. Often it might be useful to reprocess the video before you start to try and track it. And what I'm doing here, as I've set a threshold, so that we only look at the very bright white values, and let's just take that into the raw tracker so we can see what goes on here. We've just got some very bright white things. What I've also done here is I've put the set memory in, so we put the original video into the memory so that we'll see that in the region of interest that's output. Let's just, there we go again. Let's try tracking just that. And you can see the original video is coming out of the ROY tracker, and that's because we've put it in the memory before we started. Okay, now there's a couple of other advanced processing options. One of them is the FFT control. I'm going to talk about that more when I look at frequency domain processing. That's a separate video. And the other thing is there's the pattern matcher, and I'm going to look at that a bit more when we look at convolutional neural networks. And again, that's another whole separate video. But I think for this, we're done.